after an absolutely atrocious performance against the Denver Nuggets, people have begun to question the legitimacy of Kawhi Leonard's legacy. Liam, what do you think is the implication of this year to Kawhi's legacy?
With these NBA elite all-stars, anything less than a championship is kind of seen as a failure. And I think, Kawhi proved himself last year with the Toronto Raptors kind of single-handedly carrying them to that championship. And obviously the disappointment of this season, choking a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets in the second round of playoffs is inexcusable. But it's not unheard of. We look at the Thunder with Westbrook and KD choking to the Warriors. We look at that exact same 73-9 Warriors team choking that to the Cavs. So, it is disappointing that these All-Stars choke 3-1 leads in playoff games, and we expect them to be so much better. But does it affect Kawhi's legacy? I don't think so. Next year is the big one. If him and PG do fail to produce again, if they fail to produce even like a finals appearance, I think it's definitely a blemish on his record, because Kawhi went out and said that he wanted PG on this team. The Clippers went and made it happen. They gave away everything to build this team for him. Kawhi didn't perform this year. So yeah, it's a blemish on his record. It's an off year, but I'm going to back Kawhi to bounce back, and his legacy won't ultimately suffer from this.
I'm actually on the other side of the fence here. I think that after this year, we've seen that Kawhi isn't a top 3, top 5 player in the league. He's merely been a product of good coaching and good leadership around him. We saw with the Spurs, he won his first championship there. Tim Duncan, one of the best leaders in sports, and obviously that Spurs team led by Pop. Then you have the Raptors with Van Vliet and Lowry taking those leadership roles. And this year we've seen Kawhi have to step up as a leader in a team that's built around him, and he's failed miserably. We've seen off-season reports of people saying that other team members on the Clippers were really unhappy with the way that Kawhi was able to take games off, give him preferential treatment, and load manage. And ultimately that led to them losing in the playoffs because they just didn't have enough playing time together. Just because someone is quiet doesn't mean they're automatically a really nice or really good person. And we've seen the ruthlessness of Kawhi Leonard in the past. He falsely accused the Spurs medical staff of misdiagnosing his injury. And then he forced a trade, saying he'd only go to LA, destroying the trade market for Kawhi. And then obviously you saw Kawhi leave Toronto after just 1 year. And obviously with the whole free agent situation in the offseason, people didn't know where he was going to sign. Was it with the Clippers? Was it with the Lakers? I think Kawhi purposely led the Lakers to believe that he would sign with them up until the last minute. So the Lakers really lost a bunch of free agent options. And I think Kawhi, he's actually one of the most cutthroat and ruthless players in the league. But because he's quiet, people just don't see him like that.
No, look, Mike, you make some great points there. And I agree with pretty much everything you've said. But, you are kind of forgetting that this man's won 2 finals MVPs with 2 different teams, which is, nothing to be laughed at. Obviously that first one was more of a defensive role. And the second, you could argue that without the Warriors' injuries, it's not even an argument really. If KD and Thompson don't go down, the Warriors win that series. So it is an interesting one with that, the legacy and all that. He does have 2 rings to his name, and that's kind of how the record books will remember it. But, if he doesn't win a ring next season, that's when you start to question the legacy. I think us as NBA fans and analysts all around the world, at every failure of a player, we jump down their throats a bit too much, I feel. He's joined a new team. Him and Paul George, two all-stars, trying to kind of figure out how to work with each other. The fact that they didn't even make the conference finals is a joke. And as an NBA fan, we're all let down by not getting that Lakers-Clippers final that we all wanted. But in terms of Kawhi's legacy, I'm going to give him another year. I'm going to give him to the rest of his career, really. Obviously, we're commenting on it now. But, he could, the last 3 years of his career could lead his team to, So, but if we're talking right now, it does impact his legacy a lot. And, the Clippers, they're going to be ridiculed all of next season. There's going to be a lot of pressure on that team to perform. It'll really test Kawhi. Can he step up with all the pressure of the league kind of on him? It's been on LeBron and the likes of, KD to step up and perform for so many years. Now Kawhi is kind of he's not in Toronto, he's not at the Spurs, he's in LA, a Clippers team which has struggled for so many years now. 50 plus years to not even make a conference final appearance. So it's on him. And, we here at Unanimous Sports do make a lot of fun of PG. And, he needs to step up as well. It's a team sport. Kawhi can't get him there on his own. But where was Kawhi in that game 7 against the Nuggets? It was disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't even score a point in the second half, whereas PG actually scored. Yeah. He hit one bucket. So, we did give PG a hard time, and I didn't really see many people giving Kawhi the same hard time about, choking in that game 7, especially when everyone, believed Kawhi was this insanely clutch player due to that game winner against Philly. Yeah, I think that part of Kawhi's legacy has been, he's kind of been overrated in the past. In the first finals that he won, where he won finals MVP, where he slowed down LeBron. LeBron still scored 30 points. He averaged 30 points in that series, so it's not like Kawhi did that great of a job stopping him. And then obviously Toronto, you already said it, with Clay and KD out. It kind of keeps going in extreme directions. They underrated Kawhi at the start of, during his Spurs tenure. Yep. And then he went to Toronto, and now he's overrated. And going into this season, he was overrated. And now everyone's going to hate on him a lot because he's, hasn't met expectations, so he's going to be underrated again. And, he just keeps swinging back and forth. But, personally, I think the discussion about whether him and LeBron is the best player in the league right now, it's over. It's 100% not Kawhi. Couldn't create for his team, couldn't score in that second half. If you're supposedly one of the best players in the league, you're going to carry your team, especially in that second half. Whether you win or not, sometimes that's not up to your control. But a player like LeBron, a player like KD, they would have at least scored 1 point in the second half of a game 7. And Kawhi not being able to do that is absolutely atrocious, especially due to the fact that the team was built around him in his vision, and you don't score anything as the supposed best player in the league. So discussion's done. LeBron's better than Kawhi by far. Kawhi, during the course of the playoffs, obviously he's swung to become underrated. But I think this hurts his legacy a lot, just in terms of the way people perceive him. And I think his past behavior, people have kind of given him a pass because he's been that quiet guy who doesn't create drama. Yeah. But he's extremely entitled, and people just don't like that, especially the other players around him. Like, he lives in San Diego, and there's been reports of him turning up late to team flights because of that, 3-4 hour drive from San Diego to the Clippers facility. He's just been entitled for his entire career. He thinks he's greater than he actually is, and don't let his silence fool you. Wow. That's all I gotta say. And I just don't think that Kawhi deserves the respect, especially after what he did at the Spurs. That was the tipping point for me. He tried to speak badly on Pop and the Spurs coaching staff. The Spurs are one of the most well-run organizations in the league. Pop's one of the most well-respected coaches in the league, and Kawhi tried to speak down on that operation and say that they were the problem, when in reality it was Kawhi who was the cancer in that locker room. And we saw that this year with the Clippers. And I think his true colors are finally out for the public to see after the LA spotlight has been shined on him.
Wow. Mike, it's a hot take, and I don't mind it. I don't mind it either. I think what Kawhi did with that Spurs season there, where he was saying he still was injured and refused to play. That I lost a lot of respect for him in that sense. I'm not going to call his championship with the Raptors lucky, but there were certainly elements of luck to it. But the thing is that if Kawhi does bounce back next year and the Clippers do bounce back, say they win the chip next year and Kawhi's final MVP, he matches what LeBron's done with those 3 final MVPs for 3 different teams, which everyone talks about. It's such an achievement, which it is. It's never been done before. Kawhi would join him if in just winning 1 more ring, but. The comparisons are silly. They're not close in terms of overall greatness. Look, for me, I'm going to give Kawhi 1 more year. I'm going to give the Clippers 1 more year before I make a full judgment on Kawhi and PG. PG is such a contentious player to talk about, but I'm happy to give him 1 more year.
We have a video about him if you want to watch that.
We do. We've got multiple videos on PG.
I'm not LeBron's biggest fan. I think he's top 2 of all time. but I'm not in no means a LeBron fanboy. Check out our If LeBron's the GOAT video and you'll see the truth. But I think the discussion's over. Discussion's over. Kawhi's not on that level. People overrated him. People like Skip Bayless overrated him for the longest time. And I think we've seen the truth now. And hopefully more fans can see the kind of ruthless player and ruthless person that he is. I'll never let it go. Him leaving my Spurs. But yeah, what do you guys think about Kawhi's legacy? Do you think he's still a, top 3 player in the league right now? Do you still think he's, top 20, top 50 of all time? Where do you think Kawhi ranks? Do you think his legacy has been tarnished after this season? Comment down below and let us know.
Hey guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. Really appreciate your time and listening to our opinions. Whether you agree or disagree with us, please drop a comment down below. Let us know. We're just trying to learn and grow our channel. And talking to growing our channel, feel free to drop us a subscribe as well. Really help us grow and really get our name out there. Really appreciate it, guys.